Hi knitters, welcome to PJ Knits. My name is Penny, I live in Central Illinois, and I'm a knitter, a blogger, and a YouTube podcaster. And welcome to my knitting journal. Welcome to new viewers, and thank you for those friends and viewers who keep coming back every time I podcast. I do so appreciate that, and I truly mean that. And I appreciate those shout outs that I get from other podcasters as well. Thank you, Margaret, for My Wonderful Knitting Life, which is a wonderful podcast as well. And thank you for shouting out in your last episode to me. That's how I've been building my community and by word of mouth somewhat as well. So I am so appreciative to everybody who's come back. I hope. And one of the things is that I don't edit at this time, partly because I'm a lazy one, but partly because I don't have all the tools. And I should sit down at some point in time, you maybe play around with it. And as I was telling Marina last night on a Zoom, sometimes I think I should do that, and maybe that will be in the future. But for right now, it's fully unedited. What you see is what you get. And so anyway, just so you all know that ahead of time. Just want to tell you, today is Sunday. It is January 21st, and we are Central Illinois weather here. We are coming out of a cold snap we've had for, probably over a week with snow. The snow is still out there. Today we're going to go to 25, which is unusual. And then in the next couple of days here in Central Illinois, we're going to get 35, 40, 41 later in the next 3 or 4 days with rain. So I am hoping that the snow will melt away, at least for the most part, on the driveways, the sidewalks, the parking lots, the streets. So, we don't have to worry about slipping and sliding and all that. I don't mind the cold as much because I love sweaters, as you know, and I love wearing them. And so I don't mind cold. I just don't like when it's slippery and having to go out and shovel because, us knitters have to protect the hands and we don't want to go down. So anyway, I hope that you all are having some good weather, and I'm hoping that this is a trend here in Central Illinois that we're out of the deep freeze, because it's been very cold to the point of, which I never have done before, but opening up my cabinet doors and letting a trickle go and kicking the heat up for sure. So that's kind of the weather report for right now. Let's get started, right? Let's start with last time's episode. It was so much fun to have Kendra here to come and talk about her knits and her journal. We had so many nice comments about our journals and about having Kendra on as well. And I hope in the future Kendra will be back along with some other of my knitting friends. We're going to invite back to kind of talk about their knitting as well, so you can get a feel of my local community as well. So throughout the year we'll be doing that, and definitely Debbie will be back, and so will Kendra. But thank you so much. And some people, have said, yes, I do a journal of sorts. Others have said, I'm not going to journal, and maybe we're enticing you to come along on this journey with us. A journal can be just as simple, and I said this before. Back in the day, mine was just a piece of paper, that a little form that I filled out and put in one of those plastic sleeves and into a binder. And then I graduated to like a 4x6 Mead spiral notebook that's long since gone. And I just enjoy my journals so very, very much as just looking back. And they come in handy sometimes when I don't want to go to Ravelry or just want to look through it, see when I did it, what the yarn felt like, and all of those things. So I totally enjoy my journal, and I hope that some of you will come along on the adventure with us. But if you choose not to, that's fine as well. Now, I just realized sitting here that the first part of what I want to talk about is sitting over here. So I'm going to get up and go over and get it, because we have I have a couple things. I want to tell you a couple pages I put into my journal, and I want to do the giveaway right away for the Sandy bag. So don't go anywhere, or while I'm over there, grab your cuppa, grab your knitting, and kick back and let's talk knitting. I have quite the collection of stuff sitting around me. So anyway, just on the note of journals, I just wanted to tell you, occasionally I'm just going to update you on my journals and what's went into there. But I have created a page here called Things I Want to Remember or Think I Need to Knit in the Future 2024. And so I have stuffed a couple of things in here that I have gleaned from other watching podcasts or Instagram. And one of them is, I realized with the cold weather, I have a lot of hats, I have a lot of scarves, I have a lot of cowls, I have some mittens that I've knit, I've got a lot of gloves that I bought. None of them coordinate really well together, number one. And number two, they're whatever I liked. And some of them go with black, but again, which is what I have my two coats, main coats that I wear in the wintertime, none of them coordinate well. So for the new year, and I'm thinking next year, because I'm thinking I'm not going to need it anymore this year. I'm hopeful. Anyway, is I need a hat, scarf, mittens, or gloves to match my black winter coat. So I put those into there and started a couple of little thoughts there. And I've also started an inspiration picture, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But for right now, I want to give away the Sandy bag from the last episode from the comments. And here it is. Thank you, Sandy, so much for your generosity to the podcast. I do appreciate it. It's got a lovely inside. And this is from the comments from our last podcast. And that is going to go out to Peggy. Congratulations, Peggy. Yay! Peggy, I will get you the bag hopefully next week before you head out on your adventure. If not, I will get it to you when I get back and we're all back together, when spring hits. But the winner is Peggy, and I just want to read her comment here because I thought this was fun. She said, and thank you for the kind words, Peggy. We appreciate it. That was a fun podcast. I have more of a notebook where I keep tips, ideas, and podcast /vlog info. I do keep up my Ravelry pages and put a lot of the same info there. I also use notes on my phone all of the time to keep info. Very smart, right? One thing I am going to try to do is keep track of not only of needle size, but what brand needle and if it is from an interchangeable set. And I have done that on some old whips as well, Peggy, because putting them in the book, because sometimes, as you will see, I get sidetracked, could be years. And I want to know what needle that was done on. Then I know what happened to the tips of my needle set. Love seeing all of your stickers and adornments. Thank you, Peggy. That was such a kind comment. And congratulations on your bag. So, and thank you to everybody who commented. And please keep the comments coming. Let's keep the conversation about journals going. As I said, I will be talking about my journal and updating you periodically here on the podcast as far as that's concerned. So, the main title of today's podcast episode is going to be PJKnits Sweater Project 2024. And I want to say that I'm somewhat revising my thought process. One piece of my thought process won't stop is that I want to, because I want to be knitting more sweaters again, continuing my sweater wardrobe, my sweater project, but I want my sweaters, I want to be knitting on them and wearing them in the season. I don't want to be knitting them necessarily, that's always been my thought, while the season is progressing. Yeah, there will be those occasional sweater patterns, because that's the way people design, that come out in the heat of the summer and it's like, oh yes, I really have to knit that like right now. There will certainly be those things, I believe. But I also know that I have a collection of good transitional sweaters and good summer sweaters, and I've got yarn for summer sweaters. So that is still going to continue as I progress through 2024. I'm not changing that up. I want to knit And I will feature sweaters here on the podcast that can be knit before the season and in the season as well. I will continue that thing. But also for 2024, what I found in kind of like having a little retrospection of 2023 is there are a lot of winter sweaters and colorwork sweaters and woolly sweaters that there's just not enough time, given the fall, the winter, and other things that I want to be doing. There's just not enough time to knit all of those sweaters. And so what I kind of decided for 2024 is that I'm still going to continue knitting before the season, but I'm also going to continue to knit a woolly sweater, yes, in the springtime, yes, in the summertime, because I'm in the air conditioning a lot. And it doesn't really matter, right? When it gets hot here in central Illinois, I can knit on woolly wool. And that way I will continue to have some good colorwork sweaters, woolly sweaters come next winter, all ready to go. But they just take me a little bit longer to knit, because if you've been with the podcast before, you know that I'm not a monogamous knitter. And I do, those who know me from Zoom and other places know that, yes, I could cast on something new today because I'm tired of what I was knitting on, or my hands needs a little rest from the rib or whatever I'm doing. So I'm easily led astray. So that is kind of one of my thought processes for 2024, is to continue to knit before the season, but also to be able to give myself permission to knit on woolly sweaters throughout the whole year as well. So that's kind of my thought process. And in my journal, what I have done is I put a page in here called Mid-Journal and have started a list of those woolly sweaters. And I'm going to share some of those with you in a little bit. But so I started a mid-journal thing thinking, I will revisit that. This is a good place to put those sweaters that may pop up. And I have more even since I've started making this list. So my mid-journal is kind of like, what do you want to be knitting for next winter? So that's kind of the plan going forward as far as my sweater knitting. And one of the things that I also want to talk about is a lot of podcasts have been showing you everything they knit in 2023. And I gave thought to that as well. But then I realized that I'd have to get them all out. I'd have to, how do you an unedited podcast, how do you manage to make that all happen? And so what I decided to do is through 2024 is when I podcast on occasion, I am going to, whatever month we happen to be in, I will show you a sweater from that time frame a year ago. And that's what I have done here. And we'll talk about that one. I'll talk about that later on. But that's kind of my thought process. I'm going to, for new viewers, I will let you know what I knit last year, and it kind of sort of in the season type thing. So that is one of the things that I just wanted to, to tell you, that I'm not doing a revamp of everything that I did in 2023, but I will show you periodic finished projects. And they may not be sweaters. They may be something else that could very well be. So let's start with, right now, I want to start with some whips. Get you caught up with my whips that I am working on that are my sweaters. First of all, I have shown this one before. This is Comfy. This is from the 52 Weeks of Easy Knits from Lina Magazine. I started it last year. It is has been primarily my project that I would knit on when I was down at our local yarn shop, the Fiber Universe, because the yarn came from her. I am finally to the decreases on one of the sleeves, and I anticipate by the end of the day this sleeve will be done and I can start the other one. And pleasantly surprised this morning, late last night, sorry, I tried it on, and despite what it looks like right now, it fits really well. I was concerned that it wasn't long enough. I was concerned that it wasn't wide enough, even though I did a gauge swatch, and I have changed the sweater up to my measurements. I was so happy that even unblocked, it fits really nice and it is long enough, I do believe. So this is out of Malabrigo Rios in Frank Ochre and Hollyhock. And I think the last time we were together, I was up a little bit further. I have done the hem and added the color work, the color change in color here. And so it will have the same in the sleeve. I have done, as I have done on all of my sweaters, I knit to the elbow length, and then I did some calculations to how often I needed to do the decreases. At this point in time, usually, almost always, 99+%, when I get to the sleeves, I always venture away from the pattern because I want the sleeves to fit my arm, my fat arms, and I want them to be the length that I want. So I always do calculations. I've been asked to talk about that, and I will probably in the springtime. I'll do an episode. I think I'll get my stuff together and kind of do, you know, another thought process of what I do in my sweaters. But I'm so pleased that I am on to the first sleeve there, and I see that this, I'm hoping, my whole hope and what I put in my journal is that this will be done by the end of January, because I want to wear it, you know, maybe the first part of February and then back in March when I, as well. So that is the first WIP that I wanted to talk about. My second one is my April cardigan, and I have taken it upstairs because right now I have two sweaters that I really want to work on, and so I'm putting that, you know, in that kind of timeout. Yes, I will revisit it at some point in time, and probably this spring as well, because I still could wear it this spring. So the second one that I want to share with you was a little thought process that I had while I was working on Comfy. The Comfy pattern is such that it's all rib, and I wanted a break. I thought what I wanted was something. A couple of things. I wanted to use my Pullover. I have quite an assortment of that, and I wanted to use the mohair that I bought from Wool Warehouse before Thanksgiving. And I thought what I wanted is I wanted a big, huge, comfy sweater. In the beginning, I thought I wanted all stockinette. I wanted it mindless, yada, yada, yada. I just wanted to go up, up, up. And when I got done, I wanted to be able to throw it on when I was heading out to maybe, you know, to the shop, or running out to take the garbage out, or do a little shoveling cleanup or whatever, any of those things. So that was kind of my thought process when I began this. What happened was I decided when I was looking through one of my books from Elizabeth Zimmerman, The Opinionated Knitter, in my library, I have been kicking around an Aran type sweater, right, for quite some time. But again, I just wasn't totally on board that I wanted to work that hard at it, right? So I was going through the book, and I just thinking about what I could possibly do. And I thought perhaps I wanted to add maybe some cables to it. But I didn't want to go in depth. And I also thought that what I wanted to do is another EPS, Elizabeth percentage system. Well, we'll call it EPS for short. I wanted to do another sweater using EPS. I did one 2 years ago, this time in the wintertime. And I wanted to do another one using my Pullover again, but I also wanted to do it because EPS and Meg, for the most part, do bottom-up sweaters. And I hear a lot from a lot of people saying, I don't like to do bottom-up. I only like to do top-down. You can't. I want to be able to try it on. And so I wanted to do another EPS sweater because I wanted to kind of debunk that you certainly can try on sweaters that are bottom up. And for me, sometimes the bottom up is, again, the monotonous part. So you get that done, and then you've got the fun piece up here at the top. So I'm not saying I love either one better than the other. I like both of them. And so what I wanted to do was an EPS sweater, do it from the bottom up, and say it's okay to do bottom up. They're not hard, and I can still encompass some of the same things that I do top down, bottom up. I'm okay with that, and I know that not everybody is, and that is perfectly fine. Whatever you are comfortable with, that is the whole thing about knitting. You know, it is knitter's choice. You don't have to do what I do or anybody else does, right? And that's kind of my theme for the year. So my brain was going that I wanted to do a EPS sweater, Pullover, bottom up, and that I maybe wanted to add a little bit of interest. Now, backtrack again, at least 2.5, 3 years ago, I decided it was time to make a swatch in the round using my Pullover and other things to see what kind of gauge I was getting. So I've got my gauge swatch all ready. And back when I did it, I just sat, you know, one evening, probably a couple of evenings probably, and I made a gauge swatch here. I did the Pullover. I did Pullover, okay, on different size needles. I did a strand of Pullover. I did a strand of Pullover. And then I switched it up to 2 strands of Pullover by itself. And then I came down and I did a strand of Pullover and a strand of mohair because I wanted to see what that makeup was, what that gauge was, what it did. Then I came down and I tried Pullover and some Cumulus Surrey alpaca that I had in my stash because, again, I'm like, let's see what that does with Pullover. And all of those were with the same needle. They were like with 9s. And then I jumped up to, I went down to a size 6 and did a Pullover and Cumulus in my swatch and then finished it off with a rolled hem at the thing and a rib at the bottom, okay? I put my tags on. First of all, what I did was when I was knitting my swatch, every time I decided to change, I would put a light bulb marker. And then I put in my little journal at the time, silver marker was Pullover size 9, size 7, whatever, and then just did that with all of my markers so that I knew that what I had done. That was before I put the paper on them, right? And so what then I did in my notebook as well, in my journal, is I took it and I measured each one of these for gauge before I blocked it. And then I measured, and then I blocked the whole swatch, and then I put in my notebook, my journal, what the gauge was after I blocked it, so that I knew the measurements for both of those, right? And then I decided to put these little tags that I had, price tags back, and I went through and put on them on the swatch what the needle size was, what the strandage was, if it was Pullover or if it was Cumulus. On the back side, I did the gauge unblocked and then the gauge blocked so that I would know and forever have this swatch. Now I know that gauge changes, and as I'm knitting my sweaters, I do check gauge, make sure that I'm still getting what I got in the beginning of time. And so this swatch I am keeping because I don't want to have to redo it every time, but I know what Pullover does, and because I have quite a bit in PYS, there's going to be a lot of winter sweaters out of it. So I'm keeping that swatch. So that's just a swatch that I've done and kept. So I went to this swatch when I decided to work on my new sweater for fun, right? So I have my swatch. I have a knitter's journal, a separate knitter's journal, and this one is really kind of, not really kind of, it is devoted to EPS sweaters and EPS and more of note-taking as I'm working, in this case, as I'm working along this sweater, I'm putting the notes into here. When I'm all done, I will go back to my real journal and I will bring the pertinent information over to it. So that's what I'm using this particular journal for. And so I have my, when I cast on with it, the needles, the size, and, pages and some measurements. So there's a lot of info in here. But what I want to share with you was something from Mail Call that my friend Denise sent me. And if you remember, back in the day, photo albums and scrapbook. Yeah, I was a scrapbookie back when I was in grade school. So we're talking, 50 plus years ago. And that was before you didn't have stickers and things like that, right? You had these corner things to put in your photo albums, and then you slid they were paper, like a heavier paper, and it was like a little envelope-y type thing that you'd stick your pictures in, to hold them down. And then you'd write a little bit about it in your, at least I did, in my scrapbook and information. So way back when I was teenager and younger, I was doing a scrapbook. And Denise had these sent to me they're from Amazon. And so I just want to share these little corners. I think this is so cool. And so I'm using them for my book. And they just slide in. They just slide in as a marker type thing. And it's so cool. I just love it. So reminiscent of the days. There we go. And I just love them. Thank you, Denise. So they're in my book and marking my space so that, you don't have to do sticky notes or any of those things. And they just pop in there. So anyway, I have a lot of different journals, right, guys? And so I'm keeping a journal for just as a paper type thing as I'm working through this. And I don't want to call it a design because it is not. I don't want to be a designer. I am not going to be a designer. I barely, am able to, I shouldn't say I'm barely able to. I have the knowledge to do for my size, and that's what I'm doing using EPS. So I'm putting my notes into that, and just to give you a little progress on it, there is mohair, it's drops, and the Pullover, one strand of each. And I am motoring along here. I've not worked on it as much recently. Here's where I was before. But I'm playing around with it. And this is it in the front. And this is a little wonky. That's the kind of the nature of the Pullover. This will block out, I have no doubt. I'm not really super worried about it because it will block out. If not, it's a good exercise. And there you go. Get a feel. But it feels good with one strand of Pullover, one strand of mohair. So I'm having some fun with it, and who knows where it's going to go, again. But that's my couple of winter projects that I'm working on as far as winter sweaters are concerned right now. Okay. So my plans for February. Well, I'm going to tell you, I have plans mid-February. I'm getting out of Dodge, but we'll talk about that in the next episode. So what I'm really going to try and do between now and the time I get ready to go is to finish. I definitely will have one sweater done. I have plans. The next episode, I'm going to show you what I'm going to take on my trip for knitting because I know that you all will appreciate it. I think you will appreciate it as well for those. But anyway, what I wanted to share with you here, is my plans for 2024 so far. When it comes to woolly, wintry sweaters. And this is what I was talking about early on, right? I have a plan. I have a plan that I would like to get through in 2024 and be wearing them come next November. and through the following, right? The following time. So I want to share what I did is I created 2 baskets. And first up is the basket for wintry woolly sweaters that I would like to knit between now and next winter. And so first up is a whip. And this is what I'm saying. This is a whip of old. I've had it for several. Pre-COVID, right? And we just found out, I just found out the last couple of weeks that it does not look like Meg Swanson and Schoolhouse Press Knitting Camp is happening this year, which makes me very, very sad. I'm hoping that they can find a location, but they're having issues with that, and I understand that so very well. So I'm sad that I don't think I'm going to get to see everybody for knitting camp. But this particular sweater brings back memories, because that's why I segued into that, because I bought the yarn because of meeting Janine Bages, who is the designer of it. This is the Helsinki sweater. I bought the kit from Janine, and this was 2013, so maybe I got it in 2015-ish, maybe 2014. But here is the sweater. It's called Helsinki Sweater by Janine Bages, and all of my show notes will be in the description box down below in a couple of days. I won't do them necessarily today, but the next couple of days I will have them. So this is the sweater, and if you follow Denise Lost City Knits on Instagram, she had hers on last week. And so this is a whip from long ago that I have in a bag, and I put it in this navy bag way back when because it's dark. The yarn is dark, and I don't have a whole lot that's fun to show you. I can tell you I do have 2 sleeves. I've had those. This is in Jamieson's Shetland Spindrift. That's what the kit was. So I have 2 sleeves. They still fit. And I have in here the beginning of the body. And this is at least 2 years that it's been sitting in here. So, and I know where I'm at. So anyway, the colorway is Jamieson's. It is Cosmos, and it's super, super dark. But I want to get back at this sweater because I love it. And sleeves are done. That was the neat part about this pattern with Janine, is she has you start with the sleeves, because now it's fun. It's all fun stuff, and it's bottom up. So you do the monotonous part, add the sleeves, get the yoke going, and then you got a finished sweater. So again, one of the things is this is on a small needle for me. I think they're like probably a 3 or a 2 because I'm such a loose knitter, but you can see how dark that is, right? So I really want to get back to that one. So that is in the pile. This is in my basket of winter winter sweaters, winter things that I want to do. And here's the basket that I put it into. And so that's where I'm going to keep all of these lovelies. Da-da-da. So next on my list is that I had bought the yarn, and I've talked about this before. I bought the yarn for the cover sweater. I was thinking about doing a hap out of these colorways, but I decided to do the sweater. And there's some things on Ravelry on the notes, maybe Instagram. The back has the buttons, and a couple people have done this and eliminated those buttons and just had the plain yoke. And that's what I'm going to do, partly because it'll require some finagling. But I have long hair, and very rarely will I wear it up in this sweater. So you will never see those buttons or the back. So there's really no reason for me to do that. But what I did is I bought all the colorways for the yoke. This is, I bought them from Lost City Knits. And then I bought this particular cone right before Christmas. I bought it from the Woolly Thistle. And so it is in my bag as well here, right? Here's my cone. here's my bag of yarns from Lost City Knits. And so that is on my list for 2024 in the woolly sweater departments. Okay. Then next up in this little bag, and I've talked about this before, is from the Grand Shetland Adventure Knits. I bought the yarn from Holst. This will be my first time using Holst. Holst yarn. This is the super soft in fountain colorway. No surprise, right? And I want to knit the Lucky Lines Pullover by Gudrun Johnston. And again, this will be on a smaller needle. But I love that lace that she's got there. So that's going to take me some time as well. But will give me some changing up when I'm tired of doing stockinette. It will be fun to do that. This one is a bottom-up sweater, so it is keeping with, you know, I'm okay with bottom-up as well. So that is another one that is in my thought process for 2024. I bought yarn from Schoolhouse Press last year, last fall. It was new to me. This is the Briggs & Little Heritage 2-ply in yellow WO, which is the white. And I had originally thought that I was going to do one of the wool gathering sweater that came out in September that Meg designed. And now I have decided that there's a couple of thought processes that I might try and put, remember that kind of cinnamon drops mohair with it. I also have something else that I might use the mohair for. I've not put it in the basket yet because I'm on the fence as to what. But I also was thinking that this would be a perfect sweater, that Felix sweater, the cardigan, or maybe something from the Sari Norland book that I just got. So this one, I wanted to leave it in my winter basket because I want to do it. I want to use the yarn, and I really want to do that for 2024. So I'm thinking that may be a good selection, right, of winter sweaters to be knitting on in the air conditioning and into the fall. And so I'll keep you posted as to where I'm at with all of those. So just a little thought that I've been having as far as winter sweaters and continuing to knit on them. So then, as one does, I decided I needed a basket for spring, summer, transitional. And so, sorry, here we go. Here we go. Are we loving this basket? Yeah, I've got a lot of knitting to do, guys. There's a lot to be done. And just to do a quick, semi-quick, the daily pullover out of the cobalt blue linen quill. Decided to use that. If you were with me last summer, I have a sweater that this would look lovely over. And so that is going to be the daily pullover. Bought last year, cover sweater of Alina magazine. This was summer 2023, a summer sweater, right? There we go, the two yarns for it, Dut and Dut. Those two. I think that's going to be so fantastic. And it has those waves. It's called Wave. And I'm so excited to get started on that. I can't tell you how much I want to cast that one on. Then I also have in here birthday yarn from last year from my friend Becky. And got these. And so I'm still on the fence. This is Barocco Vivo. Getting a lot of glare off the snow today. Sorry. There you go. And so it's either Burl. Peggy did this one. I love this Cleome. So I'm thinking I'm leaning more toward that particular pattern. So that is in my possible queue. I have my Alpine Bloom in here. that I want to get back at as well. I've got the color work done. This was Sister Ananse yarn and Plucky Knitter from old PYS. So I want to get back to that particular sweater. And then last but not least, I've had this for quite some time. This is definitely a spring one that I want to get done this year. This is out of the Pom Pom magazine, number 32, spring 2020. I think I bought the yarn in 2020. This was one of those sweaters where I knew I wanted to make, and I only wanted to make it out of the yarn that it was made out of and the color. And so I've had that for quite some time. And I'm stoked about that. And I even have the perfect Ho-He bag. I've had this. This was the Grocery Girl ones from some time ago. So I've got the yarn for it. It's a mohair and it was a Malabrigo, right? No, I'm sorry. It's Manos Cabrito, and then there's a mohair in here. So I'm super, super stoked about that. I think there's one other, there's a couple. There's a light, and then there's a little bit darker. So I definitely want to be knitting on that this year. I'm so looking forward to that. And it will be housed in my Ho-He bag that I've had as longer than I've had the yarn, for sure. But, you know, color coordinate, right? I think that was one of the Grocery Girl things at one time. But anyway, that's kind of my thought process for sweater knitting for at least woolly sweaters for 2024 and spring, summer into next fall, right? So I got a lot of knitting to do, a lot of sweater knitting. I do a lot of knitting, as you all know. You know, it's definitely a passion. It is something that you know, I can sit and watch TV and you know, just take with me. And if I'm at a railroad where there's a train, I can sit and knit at stoplights, construction, or whatever that may come my way. So, you know, it's a passion, and I have a lot of sweaters that I want to knit and a lot of other things. So I just hope the hands hold out. So I want to just touch bases a little bit on what is the sweater from a year ago I finished. This one is the Cozy Classic Raglan by Jessie May Designs. I never knit one of her sweaters, and so I wanted to try it out. I wanted to try the Raglan out, and here is the pattern. And this is done with a strand of fingering weight. It is the Molly Baseline. And it was in PYS for some time. It's called Riptide. It's got gray in it. It's got copper in it. And then I knit it with a strand of Cumulus. And I love the feel of this sweater. It is so soft and cozy. And I like the way it feels. I like wearing it. I think I wish I would have made it just a tad longer, but that's just me. But I still wear it. I love this particular one. So this was a finished object in January of 2023, which meant that I knit it. I started back in 2022, probably in the winter of it. But I wanted to try out Cumulus. Was my whole plan at the time. My swatch with the Plutelope. You know, at that time I wasn't really super crazy about it. So I had the yarn, and this was perfect for, I really like Cumulus. I can wear mohair as well, but this was nice. I was pleasantly surprised about that. So it was an experiment. And again, this was yarn that I purchased at Fiber U, so I could sit down there when I was knitting with the gals. I could sit down there, and I felt good about knitting on yarn that came from her. So that was Jessie May Designs. And then what I am wearing here is the Gulf Stream Pullover by Beth McDonald Stone. This I did not finish in 2023, but I thought it was very appropriate for today. And I love this sweater. I bought the yarn. It was Forge. I bought it at the knitting place, probably, I want to say during the pandemic, maybe, when they were showing Instagram, and it was a knit along that I did with the knitting posse at the time too. So anyway, here is the pattern. I love this. I made changes to it, and it's a woolly sweater. It's comfy, cozy. It looks really good with something over it so that you can actually see the lace on it at a larger gauge, and I do like it. It's one that I'm going to wear all day today, and it'd be comfy, cozy. Really liked the yarn as well, and I'll put a link to my project page as well. There you go. And fairly easy to do lace pattern, yoke pattern. So I wanted to share those knits with you. And then lastly, the Hap-A-Long is continuing to go along. I am only going to show you my progress on my Hansel, because that's all I've been working on right now. And I pull this out and knit on this almost every morning, maybe 2 or 3 rows with my morning coffee and podcasts that I watch, because I feel like that's a good timing to do. So this was a weekend or so ago that I pulled this out and put my little progress keeper here. I love this one. This one was a gift from my friend Kendra. But here we are. I'm at like 150 stitches I counted this morning, and so I have to go to 201. So I've got a ways to go, but it increases quickly, and this is just like it's all gartered, so it's a fun knit. And we have several people that are knitting along. So what I'm going to propose that first Monday in March that we're going to try and do another Zoom, and I will talk about that in the next episode and reminder down the road. So the first episode we do, not first episode, the first Monday in March, I'd like to do another Zoom at 6 p.m. Central Time, Illinois time, and have those who are working on the haps come and join us for a little knit together. I will say this, please don't think that you have to just do a hap. We have several people who are doing hap-like shawls, and a hap is a cover, right? It's a wrap. And so if that fits the bill for you, Stephanie's doing a really super cool one that she showed us last night in a luscious pink yarn that is not labeled a hap, but it's a wrap, it's a covering, and it's going to be wonderful, and she's knitting along with us as well. So please don't think that you have to do just a hap to do that, but we'd love to have you join us. We have a great group also on Saturday nights on our Zoom at 6 p.m. The information's all in the Ravelry group if you'd like to join us. We talk about knitting, but I have to forewarn you, we talk about other things as well. Couple of things that we try and definitely steer away from is politics and religion. Hot spots that we do not delve into, but just so you know that it is your level of sharing, and we're there to assist. We're there to give positive thoughts to those who may need it. We're there to give information. We definitely will entice you to look at knits, look at shows to watch. And so if that is something that you'd like to join in, we'd love to have you. Yes, sometimes we talk over each other, but it's such a kind and polite group that we still get our thoughts out. So it's fun. It's a wonderful group of friends that are across the world, and I am so pleased that they come back each time. So that is the Zoom. That's what's kind of sort of going on in the world of PJ Knits at this time. So I, again, thank you so much to those who are back, and I welcome those who are new to the podcast. I do appreciate it so very, very much. And I've been paraphrasing out of this book that I read that some time ago that Joyce suggested to me a couple of years back, right, Joyce? And so I've been going through it. I highlighted things as I went through it. This is called The Power of Knitting by Loretta Napolini, Stitching Together Our Lives in a Fractured World. And I particularly am, each time I come across something that I've highlighted, I'm like, oh, that's so perfect for right now. So I just want to share something from you. This is from the Knitting for Revolution chapter. And I think this is so very true. When you knit, the yarn dances around the needles, my grandmother told me. There is a rhythm, a melody that flows from your head to your fingers. The pattern is the sheet of music, and the knitter has to orchestrate the composition. A shawl can be loosely or tightly knit, depending on the way one wants it to be or plans to use it. It can be dressy or warm, elegant or functional. Choosing the type of yarn and the colors is part of the choreography of the knitting ballet and must be in tune with the type of garment one wants to produce. A good knitter has a vision of the finished product before she starts. That's me. I've said that before. By the time I get to wearing the project, the fun of buying the yarn, planning it, thinking about what it's going to look like on me, what I'm going to wear it with, where I'm going to wear it. I've done all those things, so I love that. Just as a conductor and a choreographer have a vision of the composer's work they want to stage, a good knitter knows how to read a pattern by simply glancing at a knitted item. Yeah, I'm not so sure that I do that all the time. I know some people who do, who know well in advance, Susan Rainey is one, well in advance of what changes she has to make to the pattern. I'm one of those jump in, knit, and then try and figure out where I'm going, right? She can look at a garment in a shop window and see the dance, the choreography, sequence of stitches encoded in it. I envision a lot of ready to wear and try to incorporate that into my knits. Case in point, one of the things I put into my book, into my inspiration, this was out of the Talbot's catalog that I got, and I want to knit a sweater again, similar to this, and I have green in my basket, but here we go. And I think it's the Lyon sweater that might be for later, without this zip. So anyway, I just thought that was so very appropriate with everything that was going on with me and my thought process of knitting and things that I wanted to share with you. So anyway, I hope wherever you're at that the weather is turning better and better, and we'll be looking down towards spring soon. I know we don't want to rush it, but I'm over the snow. Okay, moving it on. So all right, have a good couple of weeks. I will catch you later, and enjoy your knitting. Knitter's choice, right? Just because I do this doesn't mean you all have to do that, and vice versa. So it's knitter's choice. See you next time. Thanks. Bye.